So when you hear the word exotic used to describe a plant, what pops into your head? Is it some rare, beautiful treasure? Or is it a threat, an invader just taking over everything? Well, the truth is, it's both. Today, we're going to unpack what exotic really means when we talk about plants in America. Okay, let's just dive right into the confusion. On one side, you've got this absolutely stunning orchid, something a collector would treasure. And on the other, you have a kudzu vine literally swallowing a forest whole. The crazy part is we use the exact same word, exotic, for both. So how can one word mean something so desirable and also something so incredibly destructive? That's the big question we're tackling. All right, to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to get our terms straight first. We're going to break down the specific language of ecology that separates, a harmless plant in your garden from a full-on biological disaster. So, in the world of botany, the definition is actually pretty simple. An exotic plant is just any plant that's been brought into a new area by people. It doesn't matter if it was on purpose or a total accident. The key phrase, the only thing that matters, is by human activity. And this is where it gets really interesting, because there is a progression. A plant is exotic the second it gets here, but the game changes when it becomes naturalized. That means it can start reproducing all by itself, no human help needed. From there, only a small handful become truly invasive. That's the official term for when they start causing real, documented harm. That step, from just being here to reproducing on its own, that's the tipping point. So, with that vocabulary under our belts, let's go meet the real villains of our story, the invasive species that are actively redesigning American landscapes, and not for the better. And make no mistake, this is a massive crisis. We're not just talking about some weeds in a backyard. Think about this. Invasive plants are a huge reason why 42% of all our endangered species are in trouble. They're even linked to 70% of extinctions of native aquatic species. And the cost? It's just staggering. California by itself spends $82 million every single year just trying to fight them. The stakes are unbelievably high. Okay, our first culprit is probably the most famous one, especially if you're in the American South. Meet kudzu, a plant so aggressive it earned the nickname the vine that eat the South. So what's its secret weapon? It's just pure relentless speed. Get this, during its peak growing season, kudzu can grow a foot in a single day. This lets it just form a thick green blanket over entire forests, blocking out all the sunlight and literally smothering full-grown trees to death. Next up on our most wanted list is salt cedar, sometimes called tamarisk. This is a huge problem out in the American West, where its defining feature has earned it the name the thirsty threat. And here's why that nickname is so fitting. A single large salt cedar can drink, wait for it, 200 gallons of water in a single day. Its super deep roots just drain rivers and streams, lowering the whole water table and killing off native plants like willows and cottonwoods that just can't keep up. And our final case study is the Chinese tallow tree. This invader of the southeastern coastal plains doesn't just grow fast or drink a lot of water. Nope, this one wages chemical warfare. So, you see, the big takeaway here is that these invaders have totally different strategies. Kudzu wins with brute force, just smothering everything. Salt cedar wins by hogging all the water. And Chinese tallow? It wins by poisoning the soil for everyone else. Its leaves fall and release chemicals that make the ground toxic to native plants. They don't just move in, they completely terraform the place to suit themselves. But, and this is super important to remember, not all exotic plants are villains, not even close. Let's flip the script and look at the other side, where exotic means something desirable, beautiful, and totally safe. I mean, there's this huge, passionate community of plant collectors who absolutely cherish non-native plants, like rare aroids and orchids. And what's the key difference here? Well, it all comes down to their needs. Most of these plants are tropical. They're divas. They need specific indoor humidity, light, and temperatures just to survive. In most of the US, they have basically zero chance of escaping and becoming a problem. Okay, this is where the story takes a really cool turn. We've been defining exotic as something that comes from somewhere else, but what if we use the word in its other sense, to mean spectacular, rare, wonderfully strange? Well, by that definition, America's most exotic plants were already here all along. America's rarest and most unique native plants are packed into these amazing biodiversity hotspots. which, unfortunately, are also hotspots for risk. I mean, look at Hawaii. It's just staggering. Almost 85% of its native plants are at risk of disappearing. These are biological treasures that evolved in total isolation, which makes them incredibly fragile today. So let's meet some of these American originals, these true exotics. You've definitely heard of the Venus flytrap. It's world famous. But it is a true American original. It's what's called a narrow endemic, which means it only grows naturally in one tiny little sliver of the world, a small patch of coastal North and South Carolina. That's it. It's a carnivorous marvel, right in our own backyard.
And that cool snapping motion, there's a word for it, of course. It's called thigmonasty. It's a super fast movement that happens in response to touch, a highly evolved, specialized trick that lets it catch insects to get nutrients in really poor soil. I mean, how exotic is that? Or you want to talk about exotic? How about the giant sequoia? It's native only to a few scattered groves in California's Sierra Nevada mountains. It is the largest single tree on Earth by sheer volume, and it can live for more than 3,000 years. It's an ancient native giant.
And then there's maybe the most otherworldly plant of them all, the Helicola silversword. It lives for decades on these harsh, high-altitude volcanic slopes in Maui, looking like something from another planet. And then, after all that time, it sends up this one magnificent 6-foot-tall flower stalk, blooms once, and dies. Its entire life is this single, spectacular, dramatic act. And this is where it all comes together. The two sides of the word exotic are now on a collision course, because the single greatest threat to America's truly exotic native wonders, like the silversword and the Venus flytrap, comes directly from those other exotics, the destructive invasive species. But the good news is, we actually know what to do. There's a solid plan for protecting these treasures. It starts with putting our money and effort into fighting invasives in those fragile hotspots like Hawaii and California. It means setting up strict biosecurity zones to stop new invaders from ever arriving. For all of us, it can mean choosing to plant native species in our own yards. It also means supporting botanical gardens as a kind of genetic insurance policy, and bringing back natural processes, like controlled fires, that many of our native treasures actually need to survive. So, at the end of the day, it really comes down to this. America's most spectacular, unique, and truly exotic natural wonders are also its most fragile, and they're under threat from invaders that we humans brought to their doorstep. So the question we're left with is a big one. How are we going to choose to protect our own treasures?